One of the joys of heirloom sewing is that garments can be as simple or as complex as you, the designer, choose to make them. Luscious fabric, a tiny bit of lace, beading or insertion lovingly combined with heirloom finishing techniques will certainly be as treasured as a frothy silk creation that is full of lace, silk ribbons, and other embellishments. Sometimes all a project needs is a well-planned, eye-catching focus, and today that can be done with embroidery, by hand or machine. I hope you will be planning a new project before our time together is complete. Let's start the show and see how many new ideas begin dancing in your head. Welcome to my sewing room. I absolutely adore looking at costume collections in museums. This particular dress I'm going to share with you today, the original dress is in the Kent State Museum in Kent, Ohio. Of course, all the original work, like the bodice, was done by hand. Now this all is done by machine. The beautiful sleeves are especially interesting, I think, with the beautiful machine embroidery, the French lace, and the machine embroidery. Now, I just cannot wait to show you this skirt. It's a pale ecru machine embroidery thread. Do you see the Greek key circle? And then let's move on down with the beautiful Greek key circle with the wheat around it and a beautiful design in the center. Then come on down, a beautiful flower design, another beautiful flower design, and then the Greek key larger design and the flower design. Now you see this border design right here? That goes all the way around the dress. Let's see how this bodice is created. Very easy, I might add. First of all, trace your bodice pattern off the yoke center, and I have a little piece of French lace which I'm going to zigzag down to the fabric on either side. Now there's a little trick here to make it peekaboo. After you zigzag it, come in and just slit right behind the lace, press it back. You see, we can now see the lace. You press it back, zigzag it again, and then trim the part. That gives you an extra stable lace finish. Now here comes the fun part. We're ready to do machine embroidery, and of course we're going to have to mark where to do the machine embroidery. And this is a sticky stabilizer. All right, now the first thing you're going to do is both the pieces on the side, and then we'll come at this angle and then at this angle, and we will have a beautiful reproduction of the garment that today is housed in the Kent State Museum. I'm so happy to have as my guest today Charlotte Gallaher. Charlotte does so many incredible things for Martha Pulling Company, one of the most talented designers in the world, and it was Charlotte who made this beautiful dress for you. Charlotte, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for the kind words. I enjoyed it very much. Let's get started with to trace our bodice of the dress onto your batiste, and you need to allow extra around because we're using, for the embroidery, we'll be using a water-soluble stabilizer, so it'll have to be rinsed away, and you want to allow for any shrinkage. So you want to trace the bodice, mark the center of the shoulder seams and the bottom of the hem, and then place your insertion onto this and zigzag it down. I've already started some here, and we're just doing a narrow zigzag, and it's really pretty with this green thread. But it's about a 1 1/2 and a 1 1/2. Once we have that done, we're going to turn it over on the back and press both the trim it away from behind, and then press the seam allowance back, and then trim it away close to the zigzag stitching. Now you have your piece ready to be embroidered. The first thing we want to do is hook water-soluble stabilizer. It's a sticky stabilizer, and score the top take that away. And I always mark the centers, vertical and horizontal, onto my stabilizer for an ease in placement. Then I can just fold my garment and place it on here. And then it's easy to just run your hand up on the center lines to get a nice placement for your embroidery. The first embroidery is an insertion. I made a template and I stitched it to either side of the lace that was already in insertion that was already there, using my template and just running it right along the edge of the lace insertion. Whoops, picked up an extra piece. Once we get that done, we have another template, and this is for the embroidery that's on a diagonal between the insertion embroideries. This next embroidery you do is the insertion again, and you want to align it on your center of your shoulder and 1 inch from the bottom where you did the other, like this. Mark your centers, which I have done here and here, and then you're going to embroider that. Then you will take your second embroidery, do the same thing with it, and mark your centers, putting it slightly on an angle, mark it again, and then embroider it. And here is the completed embroidery on each side. So you would do each side that way. Of course, if you have software embroidery, you can do it all in a computer and then send it to the machine, and you won't have to do that anymore.
If you have a hoop, if you have a hoop that's big enough.
Right, and you can do the whole thing. The sleeve is done in the same way. And then I took a little awl and punched out for the eyelets that are in the center of the insertion that's embroidered, just to make it a little bit more authentic.
Well, I'll tell you what, Charlotte, I think that is beautiful. And there is nothing as much fun as recreating antiques with machine embroidery,
Right.
I think. And now Charlotte has brought some wonderful sewing inspirations to share with you. For that beautiful Kent State christening gown reproduction, we have a few accessories that Charlotte has made. This is a beautiful padded hanger, and you can see the wonderful Greek key design with the pretty wheat. And of course, every baby has to have booties, even if he or she kicks them off immediately. But these are made in the hoop. The whole booty is embroidered in the hoop. Once again in the hoop, we have another beautiful accessory for that lovely Kent State Museum dress. Here is a bonnet. I'm going to turn it all the way around because it's so pretty. And the whole bonnet was embroidered in the hoop. Charlotte, I'm going to move that over. You are going to love what I'm going to show you next. This was made by a friend of ours who became a certificated teacher from the Royal School of Needlework in London. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is certificated. And this was her project, which she allowed us to turn into machine embroidery. Let me show you what Charlotte has done. She has embroidered the original design on the fabric and then made freestanding flowers and butterflies. And Charlotte, I love the way you changed that beautiful white on white design to the flowers, to the colors. This is so much fun. It is always wonderful to do something that is easy, E-A-S-Y. This is a ready to smock christening dress. So you do your little hand smocking or machine smocking, a little tiny bit of machine embroidery, and now let's come down to the bottom of this beautiful dress and see the vintage embroidery designs along with some French lace and a little pretty edging, a little Swiss edging that we cheated a little bit on that. That was already made from Switzerland. This beautiful baby love quilt is one of my very favorites. It's from the scripture, train up a child in the way he should go. So it's a little train. And the verses say, train up a child, and you see the little train with the little ducks and the turtles is traveling along a rick-rack train track. Here is a little lamb asleep in a train car. And then on the next row of this beautiful little quilt, there is a sweet little cradle, actually has a teddy bear in it and a little lamb and little animals, and it says they are precious in his sight is built in the bottom. And of course we go over here and we do find that scripture from Proverbs 22:6. With a new grandbaby on the way, I have to have one of these for my new grandbaby. And now Charlotte has a precious, so quick, so easy project for you. Charlotte, I told you I needed a new quilt like that one. Well, this beautiful Bible cover, I think I need 18 of these. This is so sweet. The Bible cover done on handkerchief linen with the drawn thread work done in machine embroidery. And it's so simple the way you've done it. Just the little Bible just slips in and just slips in, or slips out, I might say. Oh, Charlotte, this is just wonderful. And I guess you can make it for any size Bible, can't you?
Sure.
Well, show us how you did it.
Okay. I've made two others. So this one is done in pink, and this one is in white. And these little Bible covers would be great for First Communion, or for a baby gift, or even a wedding would be a good gift too.
And you know what I love? You got the little ties on the pink one, so you can do it tied or not tied.
And another thing you could add would be a name or a date for a birthday or wedding.
Oh,
and they're really
precious.
simple. For your purchase Bible, then you need to make a pattern, and you need to lay the Bible on it opened up first, and then you'll have to add a little bit when it's closed, because it'll be a curve, so it'll be a little bit longer. So you want to lay it on the Bible and make sure that the fabric is going to cover it when it's closed, and then add your seam allowance. And then I added, since it was curved on the edges, instead of doing a straight piece, I added a little return. So I just used this corners and added enough to the inside to make that. And then you want to trace your pattern onto your fabric, and I used water-soluble stabilizer. Trace your front off, mark for your embroidery, and then embroider it. This is the design. It's actually one center design, and this is another design I put in each corner. And this one is done in white and ecru's threads. Then you cut out, after you've rinsed the stabilizer out, you're going to cut out your front and your back lining and your side pieces. And if you're going to add the ribbons, you would cut them out about 10 inches for each side, and they go in the center of the sides. Then you're going to stitch the returns to the lining, and on each side baste them together. Then place the lining right sides together with the front of the Bible cover, and sew around, all the way around, leaving a 3 to 4 inch place for turning. And then when you turn it right side out, the ribbons are in place. This one I left the ribbons on, and you'd have your cover ready to slip onto the Bible. It's very quick. I think I made those 3 in an afternoon.
You're kidding me. Embroidering everything. And of course you have to hand whip it at the end.
Right,
don't you?
to close that up.
And then just hand whip that little place, and you're ready to go. Oh, Charlotte. And you made 3 in an afternoon? I guess you were sewing pretty fast that afternoon. Charlotte, that is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for making these treasures for our viewers today. And now we have some hand embroidery to share with you. I I am so happy to have as my guest today my friend Sandy Jenkins from Fredericksburg, Texas. That's the hill country in Texas. Sandy is a needlework and machine embroidery designer, and I might add quilt designer. Sandy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Martha. I am so happy to be here. We're going to do some stitches today that are not real common with people who have, they're real common in people having trouble with them, let's say it like that. The stitch I'm going to do is called an open fly, Martha, and it makes the eyes really easy, and eyes make a lot of difference. They change the total expression of faces, and we'll show you some examples in a second, but let's start with the stitch. It's called open fly. And it's nothing more than an open lazy daisy. That's how I like to think of it.
And that's what you use for the eyes of these adorable nutcracker faces that we're going to look at in just a minute.
Also the eyebrows, the nose, and sometimes the mouth. Oh. So it's a real easy stitch. We're going to come up at A, down at B, and we're going to come up, and this would be the sides of the eyes, okay? So we're just going to do one, and we're going to come up in the loop and tack it. Now, a little free tip is that if you tack it to the side just a hair, you don't want to do very long tack because it'll make it not look good, but it'll make a tiny little eyelash. If you do another one, and you wouldn't want too many eyelashes, Martha, because it just doesn't look sweet. But if you do another one and angling in, then if you do a really, this is much larger than any I would ever do, but for the camera's sake, it's just an easier thing to teach. Now, if you will do a French knot, then you just, and I wrap my thumb instead of my needle because I find it's a lot more control. But if you do a French knot right below that, it makes an eyeball or a pupil. But today, I'm going to show you how to do it a little bit longer for a larger eye, since that's what we're doing. And I'm going to actually do a lazy daisy right below that point of the eye, and I'm just going to tack it right up into it. But normally these eyes that we're going to show today, they all have a French knot. Now I'm going to show you where the other eye would be real quickly. We'll just do one more time. So this is an open fly. Now if you turn that to the center and tacked it back, it would make a nose. If you did it 2 times, it would make sweet little lips. Let's show them, Martha, some examples. This is the harlequin dancer, and if you notice, his little eyes are done in the same manner. His nose is also, his eyebrows are done like that. He also has a lot of dimension in the green ruffle. We've added a little extra dimension, and also in the pom-poms of his shoes. I'm kind of known for dimensional stitching, Martha, and it makes it a lot more fun.
And these are all nutcracker figures,
yes,
aren't they?
This is from the new Nutcracker quilt from the Nutcracker Ballet. If you go to the center, we have a little dancer that has a tutu that's pink and fluffy, which makes her add a lot more dimension, but her face is done in the same manner. The peppermint dancer has the same eyes. You can see tiny little ones. All these have a French knot in the center right under the point. And here his nose, you can see I've tacked it twice. So if you want a little more rounded, you can just tack it twice. And your mouth the same way. I brought another new quilt, Martha, that's the Crinoline Bells. And I just thought it might be nice to see another example. And if you look at the nose on this middle one, she has a different kind of nose, but it's the same stitch. It's just a little elongated. So when you do the open fly, you would come up from the top, down at the side, and then tack at the point. So if you wanted to do a more lady, not so whimsical face, that would be a way. But it's really a fun, easy way to do the eyes, and I think people will enjoy knowing how, because the face makes all the difference.
Well, it's just so fun to be able to do a figure and make a face that does look like a face and not something that's just a little peculiar.
Absolutely.
These are beautiful faces, and I just think that's fascinating.
And
the way
you know,
did
Martha,
that stitch.
thank you very much. One more thing that I might add is the larger the eye, the sweeter the face. So if you have a kind of a mean or scowl look, you could add a little bigger French knot when you're starting to do it in the center, and that will make your eye much sweeter. So that's just a little tip if you need that.
Well, thank you so much,
Thank
Sandy.
you, Martha. I've enjoyed
so
being here as usual.
And now I have a really nice linens storage bag to share with you. I love to go antiquing. I think most of you know that. Well, I was in a little antique shop in a tiny town close to Tacoma, Washington, and I found this beautiful linens bag, a bag that had been meant actually for laundry, had linen on the outside. Can you see this magnificent embroidery? Probably about 100 years old. L-I-N-E-N, and then these wonderful flowers and daisies and leaves. I love the linen embroidery so much, I decided to make a little bit more practical bag to share with you today. Now, if you'll look at this whole bag, you know what I'm going to put in mine? I'm going to put linen napkins. When I start looking for napkins when we have Thanksgiving and Christmas and Mother's Day and Father's Day special dinners, I can never find the napkins that match. So after I get them laundered and pressed, I'm going to put the matching ones back in this bag. Okay, it's a wonderful zippered bag. You just open it, and you can slip your napkins in there or whatever else you want to put in it. But this one I'm going to use for my napkins. Very, very easy to make. The first thing you're going to do, of course, with any machine embroidery, it's nice to just print out the template so you'll know exactly where the center is. And this bag is actually very easy to make. It's all in one piece. So you're going to print out your template, mark it, and then do your embroidery on the front of the bag. And this zipper is so easy to install. Let me just show you. I have the bag right side out. I've not done any sewing on the sides. I slip the zipper in, and using a zipper foot, I straight stitch on the top, one side of the zipper, straight stitch on the top, the other side of the zipper, leaving everything open here. And then I'm going to turn it wrong side out, and then, by the way, you have to leave this zipper open. Don't sew up this bag with the zipper closed. Open the zipper, turned wrong side out, and sew right across the bottom of the zipper down one side, sew right across the top of the zipper down the other side, and then voila, I'm just going to turn it right side out. And I have my zipper bag ready to put my napkins that match in with my beautiful linen embroidery. And next, I'd like to share a piece from my vintage collection with you. This beautiful Victorian combing coat is just one of my very favorite pieces. I bought it in London several years ago. The collar has magnificent machine embroidery, and this, by the way, was Swiss embroidery. This beautiful collar with the entredeaux, which connects the collar with the absolutely beautiful ruffle with a matching edging. The sleeves are especially pretty too, with the entredeaux, the lace, this sweet little row of puffing, very, very, very non-full puffing, lace, entredeaux, and the beautiful edging. Then come on down a little bit. One of the most interesting things about this combing coat, I'm going to hold it here, and I don't know if you can see it too well, but this little circle right here, this tiny, tiny little embroidery has a K on it. It was very, very common to monogram lingerie, and this would have been used to comb your hair, believe it or not. That's why it was called a combing coat. So this would have been in the trousseau, the lingerie category, and this belonged to someone with either a first or a last name of K. Oh, how I wish that linens could talk, and then I would know for whom this was made. For our Sewing from the Heart today, I have a beautiful letter here that Janice Elliott wrote. She writes, Dear Martha, Glenda Davis was recently featured as an outstanding volunteer with Self Regional Healthcare in Greenwood, South Carolina for her special sewing contributions. Glenda provides burial gowns, caps, and blankets for preemies and babies who are lost at birth. Her items are often doll-sized, but each is made with love and prayers for the deceased baby. Glenda also volunteers at the outpatient surgical family waiting area of the hospital. Well, Glenda, I want to personally thank you for all of your contributions that you're making there in Greenwood, South Carolina. And I also want to thank all of you who are doing volunteer sewing and helping make lives better for those less fortunate. I just think sewing women are the most creative volunteers of all. And I thank you so much for your time and your money and your efforts that you're putting into working with other people and the things that you're giving away and sharing with others. I want to thank you so much for coming to be with in my sewing room today. I have had a wonderful time, and I hope you have too. Won't you join me next time?